On the morning of Saturday, August 31st, 64-year-old Diana Nyad slipped off her white terry cloth robe, put on her swim cap and goggles, and jumped into the Hemingway Marina in Havana, Cuba. And after 2 days and 2 nights of swimming, or 52 hours, 54 minutes, and 18.6 seconds of swimming, according to her Twitter account, Diana touched the shores of Key West, Florida. She had become the first person to swim across the Straits of Florida without the protection of a shark cage. Diana had dreamed of swimming from Cuba to Florida for 3.5 decades. And she was 28 years old when she first tried to swim across the Florida Straits in 1978. It would take 4 more attempts in 2010, 2011, 2012, and finally a week ago to achieve her extreme dream of swimming the 110-mile stretch of water. The amazing Diana Nyad has been described as a living legend in the swim world and a role model for the LGBT community. But as you can imagine, following her extreme dream didn't happen without lots of personal sacrifice and lots of preparation too. Even before stepping into the water, she had to make sure weather conditions and water temperature would be suitable for the task ahead of her. She had to wear a full bodysuit and a custom face mask to protect her from the venomous stings of jellyfish. She was accompanied by a support crew of 4 boats and 40 people that helped her navigate the changing weather and unpredictable ocean currents. And a team of people kept her fed with a steady supply of protein mixtures and electrolytes from a hydration pouch. In this morning's gospel text, Jesus also points out that becoming one of his followers would mean sacrifice that would clearly have to be considered before undertaking the daunting task of discipleship. He gives 2 examples of people who needed to seriously consider if they had what it took to accomplish their own extreme dream. Before starting a building project, the builder needs to make sure that all the materials are accessible to build the tower. And before going into war, the commander-in-chief needs to first determine if there is enough military power at hand to achieve a victory. Whether we're talking about a sports accomplishment, an architectural edifice, or a military victory, any dream worth dreaming usually means a crucial awareness of what it's going to take to accomplish what lies before you. And Jesus wants to make abundantly clear to the crowds and to us that in order to be one of his followers, one should be aware of the sacrifice that will need to be made. None of you can become my disciple, he said, if you do not give up all your possessions. Jesus probably had his share of people who wanted to be associated with him without having to do too much of anything. Today, I call those sorts of people Facebook Christians. They are the people whose sum total of their ministry is to post warm and fuzzy words about God and Jesus on Facebook while challenging others to like and share their posts. I believe God calls us to more than that. And in this morning's text, I see Jesus inviting us to move beyond Facebook Christianity into extreme faith. And the thing that seems to separate Facebook Christians from people of extreme faith is their willingness to give up their possessions. Now, possessions can be thought of as the tangible things that we own, things that have a price tag attached to them, items that we can cash in on. And there's a good chance that this is what Jesus means when he commands us to give up our possessions. But I think there are other possessions that each of us have which we must be just as willing to let go of in order to be a disciple of Christ. Things to which no price tag can be attached, but possessions which we may cling to even more tightly than we do the money in our savings account. But instead of thinking of them as possessions, we might think of them as attachments. We have attachments, for example, from our past that I believe Jesus calls us to let go of if we want to become people of extreme faith. We cling to them as tightly as we do to any of our household possessions. One of those attachments from the past is our resentments. If we are to answer Jesus' call to discipleship, we must be willing to let go of the old resentments against those who have harmed us. We must be willing to forgive those who talk about us. And we must be willing to move beyond our past hurts if we ever hope to be people of faith that God calls us to be. Jesus tells us in the Gospel of Mark, whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your heavenly parent may also forgive you your trespasses. Let go of our attachment to the hurts done to us and forgive instead. Another attachment from the past that we need to let go of is the old tapes that play in our heads. Tapes that tell us we are stupid, ugly, incompetent. Tapes that call us failures, abominations, and perverts. Tapes that play the lies about us over and over in an infinite loop until we can no longer hear the words of truth which God's Spirit proclaims. You are my beloved child. With you I am well pleased. If we are ever to become the people of extreme faith to which God calls us, then we need to let go of the attachments from our past which we are holding on to, our resentment and our old tapes. But we have more attachments than just those from the past. We also possess attachments from our future. And Christian discipleship involves letting go of those too. One of those is our drive for success. Our culture teaches us that we should never be satisfied with our lot in life. We always need to be moving forward, moving onward, moving upward. The American dream is one in which we make something better of ourselves. And although having goals in life is certainly a good thing, taken to the extreme, it can become an obsession. We find ourselves never satisfied with what God has given us, but always looking to see what more we can acquire. And Jesus tells us to just stop it. Let go of our obsession over the better job, the better home, the better relationship. Another attachment from our future has to do with worry and fear. And much of our fears are things that never even come to pass. In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus told the crowds, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today." And even as he spoke to his disciples in his final hours, he said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. I will not leave you orphaned." Fear can cripple us and even paralyze us, making us useless as disciples of extreme faith. If Diana Nyad had given in to her fears, she never would have completed her swim. She had to let go of any fears of the future, and so do we. But we possess even more attachments than those of the past and the future. We have attachments within our present everyday lives, attachments which Jesus calls us to let go of. And one of them is our attachment to our personal time. God's call to generosity goes beyond being generous with our money. It also means being generous with our personal time. When someone is in need, it means giving them a helping hand. When we haven't seen them in a while, it means taking the time to connect with them. When we see something that needs to be done around the church, it means being willing to give up some of our free time to help out. Our personal time is one of our most valuable commodities, but Jesus commands us to give up our possessions if we are to be his followers. Another attachment within our present everyday lives that we need to let go of is our need for approval. Look what I've done, we say. And if we don't hear the applause, if no one pats us on our back for a job well done, then we pout, we turn inward, and we become ineffective as disciples of Christ. Instead of turning to other people to give our egos the boost we are looking for, we need to look to God for that ego booster, remembering that God has given us a mission, and our accomplishment of that mission is not nearly as important as our willingness to follow that mission. When we leave the results to God, then we no longer need the approval of others in our lives. None of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions. Jesus isn't looking for Facebook Christians. He's looking for people of extreme faith, people who are willing to let go of their possessions of the past, the future, and the present, people who are willing to sacrifice. We are those people, you and me. We aren't always going to be successful in our extreme faith any more than Diana Nyad was always successful. Despite her sacrifice and preparations, she failed several times before she accomplished her dream. But each time she failed, she managed to pick herself up and get back in the race. You and I have to be just as willing to do the same thing. If you are like me, you will fail more times than you will succeed. But we can't let that stop us from trying. When you get back in the race, you'll find yourself letting go once again of the very attachments that you thought you had released for good. That's okay. Do it again and again and again. And you will hear the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into my joy." May God make it so in your life and in mine. Amen.